Logan and Dominic pulled off the highway to get some gas and pick up road supplies. Dominic picked out a few things for himself, promising he wouldn't have to owe Logan for long. "Looks like you gotta ask for the restroom key," the dark-haired werewolf said. Logan needed to relieve himself too, and he asked for the key when he was finished checking out. The man behind the counter nodded and handed Logan a key with a yellow-painted wood board attached to it. When he went to use the restroom with Dominic in tow, the redhead struggled with the doorknob and narrowed his eyes. "Door kicking your ass?" Dominic asked flatly. "The lock is probably worn down. I bet it gets a lot of action." "Maybe it's got some soda syrup on it. Did you look at it?" Dominic suggested with some haste. The delay confused the heavy-set man too until he asked to see the key. Logan passed the board over with some frustration, only for Dominic to turn around and place the key in the doorknob for the women's bathroom. It opened with ease. "Just wait here," he said before he went back to the counter to swap the keys. He swore under his breath as he brought back a black paddle and a key which opened the men's room. "Sorry, I really gotta go." Logan sighed and crossed his arms while he waited. "I'm the one who asked for the key first," he said to himself. "It's not my fault they gave me the wrong one." He tapped his foot impatiently and looked around. He caught the cashier eyeing him from one of the dome mirrors on the ceiling. Logan looked back in disbelief, but the man didn't flinch. Frustration crossed the short werewolf's face. "And what exactly do you want?" he said very quietly so that only he can hear. The staring continued for an unreasonably long time, and Logan tried to brush it off. What was taking Dominic so long? The werewolf felt tense with the eyes on him. He imagined transforming right there and showing the cashier what for. It would throw him for a loop. And as far as Logan knew, he was the only one who figured out how to move his mind to a different place, one with a full moon, and trigger a shift in his real body. Then again, Logan reminded himself and tried to retract his initial thought. He wasn't looking to wreck his own health even if he was uncomfortable with the person gawking at him. The cashier could just be looking out for his job. His boss might be hard on employees who aren't mindful of the shop. Dominic exited the restroom and passed the key to Logan. Neither of them saw the cashier reach under the counter once Logan turned his back to walk into the restroom. The redhead conducted his business and tried to hand the employee the key, only for him to stare blankly back. Logan just placed the board down on the counter, just in time for two uniformed police officers to open the front door and beckon Logan outside with a finger wave. The redhead felt tense and on guard when he complied. Dominic held the plastic bag full of their snacks and drinks open for inspection while one of the officers looked over at the receipt. The heavy-set man was doing all of the wrong things when it came to interacting with the police. He looked confused while the officer appeared mildly annoyed and asked questions. "Do either of you guys have any drugs or weapons or any other lawful items?" "No, sir," Dominic replied. "Is the answer the same for your vehicle here?" "There's nothing we shouldn't have in there," the heavier werewolf insisted. "Did you say anything to the clerk inside the store?" Logan interrupted his passenger. "I'm not talking about my day." The officer looked at his partner. They were speaking to the clerk and standing in a polite but firm way. Meanwhile, the cashier waved a piece of paper in the air before slapping it down onto the counter. The officer's patience struggled under this test. "Looks like another fine. We've kinda had problems with this guy before. He must have thought you guys were up to something. Probably not a robbery. We keep on telling him that that's not what the silent alarm is for." He tisked and shook his head. Where are you boys coming from? Again, I'm not talking about my day. When the officer looked at Dominic, he searched his memory. He couldn't recall the name of the place. Logan knew the geography better, but he kept his mouth shut. We were just camping in White Elk. Really? The policeman raised his eyebrows. I heard it's real nice up there. I've never been. A guy in my position, it would be a bad look. Is it just the two of yous? Yes, sir. Would you mind too much if I took a quick look inside your vehicle? For what? Dominic replied a bit defensively. Are we being detained? Logan remembered his script. Yeah, no, you're not being detained. You're not even in trouble. It's just you came from White Elk. There's an ongoing problem with natives getting kidnapped from that place. Listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't do your vehicle once over. Logan sighed with annoyance. He wished his dad could have been there. He'd know what to do. Are we free to go? He stood there quietly and looked to Dominic, trying to tell him with his eyes not to speak. The naive man spoke up anyway, agreeing to the search even though it wasn't even his car. This man was proving to be a bigger liability than Logan thought. It's a little crazy sometimes, The cop checked the trunk. We actually found someone about 5 winters back. The driver found a car deal on Craigslist too good to pass up. They came all the way up here, bought the car from this lady, right? Well, something's wrong with the heater, the buyer supposes. But for the price, it's a pretty good deal. We're talking about $1,000 for a car only about 4 years old. Anyway, it's cold out, so the driver stops at this ferry station for some hot coffee and a warm cinnamon bun just to keep him going. They come back to the car and they see, and no exaggeration, young girl about 12 years old climbing out of the glove box there. And she had sweat dripping down every part of her because that's where all that hot air was going. Yeah, the whole scene got really awkward to say the least. Logan hissed inwardly and felt an uncomfortable expression take his face. It doesn't sound like they were trying to disguise human trafficking for a vehicle purchase. Not with the low price. It would be much more expensive. Human traffickers set the price high on those things because the real product is the person. All right, then what do you think it was? An escape plan. Think about it. They put an ad out on Craigslist, so they don't care who shows up to get the car out of White Elk, just so long as someone does. The officer nodded and looked to his partner. Yeah, things get real rough for those guys out in the borderlands. Okay, nothing too suspicious here. Thanks for your cooperation, boys. You feel free to go and drive safe and all that. What happened to the girl from the glove box? Where did she end up? I think she went back to the reservation last I checked. He left the two to their business. Logan got back into the car, which was getting warm from the sun. Dominic flopped down into his seat with a grunt and cracked open a sweaty bottle of Dr. Pepper and took a few hasty gulps. It was a real roaster today. Logan cranked up the air conditioning and peeled off his scarf when he got down the road. Dominic looked irritated while he munched his pretzel sticks, wiping more sweat off his face. What even happened back there? Did you do something? Logan scoffed. How much you want to bet it's because this guy thinks I used the wrong bathroom? Well, you were wearing a woman's scarf. See, I don't get that. Scarves don't have a gender. People seem to think they do. But it doesn't make sense. Everyone has a neck. I'm sorry, you can't identify as a person without a head. If this gives you so much grief, then why do you wear the scarf anyway? It's like 85 degrees out here. The redhead sighed. It's to cover the slash wound on my throat from when I was attacked. Oh. Dominic couldn't help himself and glanced over to see it. Is it on the left side of your neck? No, it's all over. It might be hard to see in the light. Logan looked at himself in the rearview mirror to point out his scars since his passenger wouldn't be satisfied without seeing them. The man squinted and felt around his neck with his fingertips, only to find perfectly smooth skin. Hold on. He pulled over and looked at himself more closely. Something isn't right. There's supposed to be long overlapping slash marks and reconstructive surgery scars. I literally don't know what you're talking about. Wait a second. You drank the potion last night, right? Would you check your scar? Dominic sighed and rolled his eyes before grabbing his left arm and pulling it close so that he could touch his back on the right side just below his armpit. He appeared to search for a moment before he pulled off his shirt and turned in his seat for Logan to see. He only saw uninterrupted skin. They looked at each other in disbelief for a moment before Dominic broke the silence. I think it might be a little too hot for us to be dreaming. Yeah. Did the potion hurt when you used it? It did, but then nothing. It was like a burning electrical shock and then floating effortlessly through a jungle made of mink fur. That's oddly specific, but it makes sense to me. The two speculated on how it was possible for their scars to be gone for a while until they finally conceded and agreed it was magic. They hoped things wouldn't get weird for them, like waking up one day with squid arms. Then again, squid people aren't on the list of illegal species, but that would probably be added if such a thing were to happen. Logan brought Dominic to his friend's single-story home, where he was paid for his trouble. The redhead went back home, stopping only for gas, and only at places where they were unlikely to lock their bathroom doors. He returned home too late to catch his father before he had to go to work, though he was a bit surprised that the air conditioning was running. He made himself a mug of hibiscus tea and a plate of seedy avocado toast with a health-conscious piling of arugula and pomegranate seeds. He was no good at poaching eggs, but he made a hard-boiled egg and rolled it around in celery salt before eating it in 2 bites. Once he was finished, he went to his room and undressed, looking at himself in the full-length mirror. He felt his neck and found that nothing remained of the scars from the werewolf attack he suffered as a child. Logan felt very new and fresh. He admired his body for a while and considered more earnestly than ever that he might be handsome. Even as handsome as Isaiah, he thought. He grabbed his cell phone, slipped into bed, and sent Isaiah a text to let him know he got home. Logan's eyes got heavy, but he inhaled sharply. He didn't want to explain what happened in text. He asked if he could call. Go ahead. Hey there, Logan said. Isaiah? That's me. How are you? His reason for calling suddenly felt trivial, but he was committed now. Long story short, I had to drive another 6 hours to take Dominic back to his friend's place. Oh, okay. What's the long version of that story? Logan realized something in his voice betrayed him, and he started to talk about the drive, the gas station, the police, and drinking the potion that cleared up his scars. Have you ever taken that potion? Yeah, I have had one of those before. Why do you ask? And you still have a bite scar on your calf? Or is that new? He asked Isaiah. The reply was calm and confident. I still have it from the time that I was first bitten. Listen, you were right about the label reading you. It read me too. The healing potion is really good at fixing problems with your body, but it won't fix things that you don't have problems with. Imagine having a tattoo that you want to keep, but then it leaves your skin because it's technically scarring. Wow, that's really interesting. But that must mean that you don't want that scar to go away. Wouldn't you want that? It would mean you can blend in better. Logan, Isaiah nearly sighed. I don't tell this to a lot of people. Maybe 2 other people. When I went to the illegal species facility, the people in charge forced me to apologize for being a werewolf every day. They wanted me to see what I am as a fault that needed to be fixed. For a moment, Logan could only hear silence. And in that silence, the redhead felt cold. He bunched up his woolly blanket in his arms and held on to it. "Oh," he said solemnly, "so if you wanted your scar gone, it's like you agree with them. Like they were in the right to make you feel ashamed of yourself." "Yeah," Isaiah croaked. "So I want my scar to stay there. For me and for everyone else who had to go through that." "Do you think it's bad that I wanted mine gone?" "No, not really. I think it's coming from a place of you wanting to move on. You had someone to remove that memory for you. Maybe if I had a therapist like yours, I'd see things differently. But I don't." "Yeah, sorry about that." "It's not your fault," said Isaiah, yawning. "So, my family is getting together. I want to join them. It's been a really long time. They're down by your neck of the woods. And I was wondering if you would be willing to come there with me. It just helped having you nearby when I called them on your phone. If you're not busy, that is." "Isaiah," Logan started, "I would be happy to be your emotional support werewolf.